The kiss in the Belvedere is probably the most famous painting in Austria. It is also an iconic painting in the world's art history, comparable to Picasso, to Van Gogh, to Monet. It's extremely popular. And maybe we switch to the Gigapixel version if we can. And I will just switch around because we profit from this opportunity to have this painting here. And so what you can do on your own laptop at home, you can, with Gigapixel technology, you can enlarge in huge size the painting and get closer and closer and profit from the mastership of Klimt's painting. It's really enjoyable and it's a pleasure to see. Okay. And we question ourselves all the time, what are the reasons? Why is Klimt's kiss so famous? Why is it so popular? Is it because of the subject matter, because of the motif? At least it's about love, embrace, a couple, men and women embracing each other. So it's about affection, a positive emotional effect. Or is it about the decor, the technique of Klimt's painting, the figurative painting with this highly decorative aspect here on the garments, which you can wonderfully see, even in detail? Or is it about the effect which is produced by the gold? So most parts of the painting are covered by gold. You see the background, many parts of the garments, of the clothes, and even on the meadow. Let's go to the meadow, and when we make it larger here, you see even in the meadow, in the green grass, you have dots of gold everywhere. So gold creates a special effect, special atmosphere, maybe some myth about, or even a kind of spiritual effect. So what is it? We cannot, of course, in this short time, I cannot give you an answer, but I can give you some background information. And this, what I would like to do is, for today in this brief introduction, the Belvedere, the museum, is profiting from the fame, from this notoriety of Gustav Klimt. It is, for the moment, the most visited museum in Vienna. There are always crowds, in particular in front of the front of the kiss, and so you can profit now from the gigapixel images that you really have the opportunity to get closer to the kiss. You cannot do it when you are in the rooms because it's so crowded all the time. So in my presentation, I want to cover some of the questions, the so-called frequently asked questions, which always come to my mind, and with which I am permanently confronted. So the facts about the realization of the kiss. So what is the history behind that? When did Klimt paint it? Why did it paint? Then about the title. The kiss is a very prominent title. Since when was it used, the title? And then, of course, one of the burning questions: who are the persons on the painting? Are they individuals? Is it maybe Klimt himself, together with his longtime companionship, Emilia Flöge? Or is it purely an anonymous allegory without any individual character? And then we talk a little bit about the golden face, the so-called golden face, because the kiss is the chief work of this period of couples of years during which Klimt predominantly worked with gold. And finally, I will a little bit explain the technique, which is really unique and outstanding, not only for Klimt, but in art history as well. So the first question is the history of the painting. When did Klimt create the painting? Where was it presented for the first time? And how long has it been owned by the Belvedere? We do not know why Klimt started to paint the kiss. We don't know what came into his mind. It was not a commission. So he just invented this idea of making a love couple. It's a symbolic painting, of course, and Klimt was a master in symbolic painting, so it was not the first symbolic motif which he did. And we know about quite a we are informed quite exactly, quite accurately about the history of the first presentation. It was presented 1908, in the year when it was finished. It was immediately presented by Klimt himself in this setting, in a room, in the so-called Kunstschau 1908. This was a large exhibition organized by Klimt and his friends in the summer 1908 in Vienna. And this exhibition covered all kinds of Art Nouveau objects, fine arts, figurative art, but also fashion design, interior design, and so all kinds of art and crafts as well. And Klimt was the predominant artistic figure within this show. He had a room on his own and about a dozen of paintings, newest paintings, he presented them here. And here the Klimt was the center, the core of this room. Here are some photographs, historic photographs from the opening day, the end of June 1908. We see Klimt here himself. He was the main figure. He gave the opening speech at the ceremony, at the opening ceremony of the Kunstschau, and he was he was one of the organizers of this exhibition. And the exhibition itself was interesting because it was only a temporary exhibition building. It was designed by the architect Josef Hoffmann, a close friend of Klimt, and it was made mostly of light material, of wood, because it was supposed to be only temporary. And in fact, it was used only for 2 exhibitions, and after 2 years, it was turned down. And at the same premises, at the same locality, a couple of years later, there was erected the building of the Wiener Konzerthaus, the Viennese Concert Hall, which you might know. So, what happened is in June 1908, during the exhibition, the people saw the Klimt, the Kiss, for the first time. And unlike other events when Klimt presented his paintings, there was no scandal about eroticism, about too much erotic in his art, like it had been with other paintings. No, it was acknowledged and it was loved from the beginning. The people admired the painting. And what is surprising, also the Ministry of Culture became aware of the painting, and it was one of the first acquisitions by the state, by the Austrian state. So during the ongoing show, it was acquired by the Ministry of Culture, and it was dedicated already at that time to the so-called Moderne Galerie, the modern gallery, which was supposed to become later the Belvedere Museum. So from the start, from the creation onwards, the painting was closely linked to the Belvedere Gallery. But what is interesting is that Klimt did not hand over immediately the painting to the Belvedere, but he took it back to his studio and repainted it in some parts. Why he did so, we don't know. Maybe it was not completely finished. Maybe he was not happy with all things. And it's interesting that we have a version from the June 1908 on the left side, the original photograph from the original version, and on the right side, the final version. And you might detect some differences, in particular in the ornament, the kind of ornament here. The ornament is slightly different from here. And even also here, some parts maybe have not been finished. And the most striking alteration was with respect to the legs of the kneeling woman, because here you see the legs were just closer. They were not as long as they are then later. So with the infrared photographs, we can verify that Klimt really painted the legs over. He evidently corrected them. He made them even longer. So evidently, in the first version, the women had 2 short legs, which is interestingly that Klimt was, he was honest enough to correct himself. What is about the title, The Kiss? It's a wonderful title, but it's not the original title. The title given in the Kunstschau 1908 in the catalog is written Liebespaar, love couple, lovers. But already 3 years later, and at another show at the International Art Exhibition in Rome, 1911, there was the first time used the title The Kiss. And The Kiss was evidently such a popular title that it remained with the painting, and it was used permanently with the painting. So actually, they changed the title over the time. And so we in the Belvedere, we use in the official files, we use both titles. We use The Kiss as the official title, but in brackets we use also the original title, Lovers Liebespaar. So Klimt, interestingly enough, is that Klimt then, after 1909, he stopped to use gold. And then he didn't use it at all. So the late Klimt is without gold. But still, since the gold is so fascinating and so popular, people think that Klimt, many people think that Klimt produced only paintings of gold. And so the perception of Klimt's painting is really concentrated on this golden period. Although, as we saw, the golden period lasted only about nine years, and there are maybe about 20 paintings of the golden period. But Klimt, of course, painted much more pictures. So let's go back to the technique. How did Klimt paint? Use the gold leaf? That's a very interesting, because just recently we examined this question closer with the restaurators, with our colleagues, and we have now more insights. Insights which we got from the new technologies, from Gigapixel, but also with the X-rays, with ultraviolet photographs, with microwave photographs. And here, for example, ultraviolet photograph shows you that the extent of use of gold, which is actually more than you can see, because the whole background, all the parts which are dark, have a layer of gold, gilt sheet, of pure gold sheet, and only the light parts have no gold in it. The background is here extremely interesting because it's very complex. Klimt used the canvas. He covered the canvas with brass sheet, and then he varnished the brass again with the brownish oil, mixture of oil. So he dimmed the color, the brightness, the glimmer of the brass, and then he covered the surface with flakes of gold, but not only gold, but also platinum and brass. So therefore he reached this effect of this kind of sparkling image, of the kind of cosmic, abstract character. And interestingly, when you see the limit where you have the edge of this brass surface, and then you have the pure canvas where you can see to the canvas. It's primed in the normal conventional way. You have the different feeling of the texture is different. And here you see that Klimt also gets or has the ambition to make the ornaments sometimes in a kind of three-dimensional way, and we are wondering how he achieved this effect. And we don't know exactly, but we think that he varnished the canvas before with a thick oil layer, and then he covered it with a thin oil sheet. So what you might think that there are gold colors, that he painted with gold, but actually it's not possible. There is no gold color. It's misleading. We don't think that, we have no proof for that. So it must always be, all the golden parts are gold sheet, very thin gold sheet. And the silver parts are not really silver, but it's platinum. Platinum is very rarely used. It was as expensive as gold, but it has the big advantage that it doesn't oxidate. So silver does oxidate over the years, it gets dark, but platinum stays like this, and still today it's very light. And finally here, these parts show that Klimt used the gold leaves also to cover the already painted, the colorful parts that he used the gold. He mixed the colorful parts with gold. And with the micro photographs, you see really in detail how the gold effect comes and how gold really meets with the color. And here, for instance, you see how the color again, after the gold was there, Klimt did not hesitate to overpaint it again and to really to mix both materials. It's interesting that Klimt, he knew a lot about the technique, but he was not a professional gilder. But he was good enough that it's from the conservational point of view, it was so professional that also after 100 years, the surface is stable enough, so it doesn't make any cracks, or it was not so unconventional that he made a mistake. Otherwise, it could have broken. The gold could have lifted up again. But this is not the case. The surface is quite stable. So finally, this is some of the secrets behind the kiss of Gustav Klimt. And fortunately, we have now this technique of Gigapixel. I'm very happy that people can now acknowledge also the mastership of Klimt much better and see really the mastership, not only because of the motif, but also because of the point of view of the technique, this golden technique, which is really outstanding, and therefore Gigapixel is a wonderful invention. So please, Florian, go ahead.
So, thank you, Franz. So, we can leave the Gigapixel, it's good. So, my name is Florian Weitzbauer, I'm head of the Digital Belvedere at the Belvedere Museum in Vienna. So, let me just give you a quick roundup of the other stuff we do at the Belvedere Museum, because Gigapixel is just one of those very promising technologies we're working with. So, the aim of the Digital Belvedere is to bring together a comprehensive range of exhibition, artworks and scientific content on a digital level, so that our visitors can explore the digital benefits and offers in an easy and user-friendly way. The Digital Museum itself should be perceived as a place of diversity and fulfill its educational and research mission, especially in the increasing digitalization of our everyday lives. Ah, yes, I need that one. So, as a museum, we must raise awareness of new possibilities and think about the digital aspect of our work right from the beginning. Within the digital domain, artists and curators are offered a new virtual level of action and interaction with you, our visitors. So, therefore we must think digital right from the start. So we must be courageous and try out new things, of course. The good news is, for us as a museum, so the original remains the original, and the digital domain accompanies our visitors before, during and after the visit, but it can never replace the original experience you have when, of course, you're standing in front, for example, the kiss. So for us, the good news is, and I think it's sort of a buzzword, so content is king, and as a museum, we have lots of good content. So there's always this question we hear in discussions, so Google Arts and Culture, is that really good? Is that really cool for you? So let me just give you a roundup. Why we think that third-party platforms are in fact essential for us. So when using a third-party platform, such as Google Arts and Culture, we have to ask ourselves, do we launch our own app, or do we bet on a platform that's already in full swing? So I think we have to think of external platforms as new channels for us as a museum. And I think we must not be afraid of digital identity loss, because we have the originals and they're unique. So I say let's embrace the new technologies, let's embrace open content, linked open data and the likes. So yes to social media, yes to Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, and also yes to Google Arts and Culture. We're working together with Google Arts and Culture since 2014, and through Google Arts and Culture, that platform enables us to reach new audiences worldwide. Generally speaking, museums can benefit from the technological expertise of Google, because Google is a global player and they have lots of fancy technologies. So as a museum on Google Arts and Culture, we have full control over what the audience sees and in what quality. So contrary to common belief, that we're giving away everything and we're losing all the rights. So no, we're not. We're in full control of the rights. We're in full control of the content, and we can actually decide what we show on Google Arts and Culture. And Google Arts and Culture in return provides us with a new innovative approach, and it also stimulates us as a museum. Think of it as a new exposition layer in the digital domain. Using the Google Arts and Culture platform, we can take advantage of new technologies. And after all, we are a museum. We are not a technological provider. So we can show our content in different formats. And this platform enables genuine storytelling in many different formats. And very important, it has a low-level threshold access. So it shows so many content, and you switch through Google Arts and Culture. You start with Bruegel, you end up with Klimt, and then you go to modern and contemporary art. So it's really great. So it enables us to have a dialogue with the audience on a whole new level. But I think let Google speak.
Hi, I'm Marcia Nicolai, a product manager for Google Arts and Culture, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the work that we do to help cultural institutions in the preservation of culture. But first, let me tell you a little bit about what Google Arts and Culture is. We are a platform at Google that works with cultural partners from around the globe to bring their cultural content online. You can access this content via iOS and Android. We're also accessible via the web at artsandculture.google.com. Currently, we have over 2,000 partners from 80 countries that make their collections available to share. While our partners often provide content that they've digitized, we also assist partners in digitizing their content for online audiences. And this is one of the key projects I work on. We have three main ways we digitize content. The first is the art camera, and that is an ultra-high resolution imagery camera that makes some of the world's greatest artwork available at brushstroke level detail. We also take interior street view imagery so users can get a taste of what a site is like when they can't visit in person, something we all can relate to right now. We also have a tabletop scanner that does high resolution archival imagery at scale. Today, I really want to focus on the art camera. You can see here the camera set up and ready to go in gallery, taking pictures of artwork. And you can see on the right how that looks when users view it online later. However, I really want to go behind the scenes, not just talking about the end result of the images. That's something you can see for yourself on the platform, but also take you through some of the technical challenges we faced when first developing it. Here you see what makes up the black box that you saw in the previous picture. The art camera is really just a regular DSLR camera with a super nice lens. All we do is we take a bunch of photos, really, really close up, and stitch them together. But that's not without their challenges. You can see here a color chart, and that's the first thing a photographer does when they start taking a picture with the art camera. We need that color chart to be able to accurately reproduce the image. After the color chart is taken, the system really takes over and automatically captures every single image. It does that by creating a capture plan, knowing the dimensions of the artwork, and figuring out how many images you can take. One thing to notice here is that you see that there are fewer images in this capture plan toward the center than the edges. That's because we use a pan and tilt camera system, and the lens has a really shallow depth of field. That means we need to take more images toward the edge to be able to get a very high resolution image. After the imagery is taken, we upload it to the cloud and it's post-processed. We stitch together all of the image by detecting overlapping features to produce a final result, and then we color correct the image. And that's actually where I want to talk about some of the challenges we faced. You can see here one of the first images we took back in 2014 or so. It looks pretty nice, but there's something as humans we see that's not quite right. It looks a little bit dark, but it can be hard to articulate why that is. And it all goes back to that color checker. I don't know if you remember, but it has 24 colors on it. In fact, there are over 16 million colors that are in the RGB color space that many of us has heard of. So we actually have to build a whole color model based only on those 24 colors. And that's where we really had to put in some thought. But before we even did that, we actually need to understand the fundamental issues. That's all I have to present to you today. So I'd really like to thank you for your time and hope you'll visit artsandculture.google.com to see it for yourself.
Great. So you've just seen an example. So one technology we also believe in very strongly at the Belvedere is augmented reality. Why augmented reality? I think the lowest common denominator is smartphone. You all have it in your pockets. And once we have the augmented reality feature as a native feature coming directly from your smartphone, I think that's going to be the future. So at the Belvedere, we already had 4 exhibitions with augmented reality content enriched. Normally the implementation takes together with the artists, in the best case, and our curators. And it's crucial that right from the start we work together very closely. So for all our augmented reality exhibitions, we also have our printed materials animated, which is very, very impressive. I'll show you that in a second. So the first exhibition we had was Günter Bruce, a contemporary artist with a huge oeuvre. So this is exhibition view, and as you already see, there's a lot of images and a lot of exhibits. So during his performances, they not only photographed these performances, they also filmed them. So we had a lot of footage for these exhibits, which we could in fact not show because it's such a huge amount. So what did we do? It's easy. We partnered up with the Viennese company Artivive. They have a great tracking system and a great algorithm. Maybe some of you know them. And we decided to use some of these images as triggers. So how does it look? I'll show you. Can we start the video, please? So it's a very short snippet, but I think you get the idea. So for this exhibition, we had about 2 weeks' time to set up the whole augmented reality use case. Can we go to the next slide, please? We had about 42 triggers, which is quite a lot. And with those 42 triggers, we generated during the whole exhibition about 50,000 views, which is a great success. So thanks for having us. I hope you enjoyed it, and come and visit the Belvedere. Thank you very much.